Fanny's Pride. Mr. and Mrs. Willy lived in a pretty cottage in a village. They kept a few hens and a goat. Mrs. Willy was known for making the best cakes and pies in the village. Sometimes she would sell the eggs and some milk as well. Mrs. Willy's hens scratched around the yard looking for seeds and worms. They never went out of the yard or caused her any problems. They laid eggs regularly and were very well behaved. Mrs. Willy's goat was called Fanny. She lived in a pen and was well fed and groomed. She had a great opinion about herself because she was pampered while the hens were not given any special treatment. "I have a special mash prepared for my meals, girls," she told the hens in a very superior voice. "I don't have to scratch around in the dirt for my food. Poor you!" The hens ignored her most of the time. But one day Mallow, the chief hen, got mad at her. "Shut up, Fanny. You are kept in a pen, but we are left free to wander about because Mrs. Willy knows we are dependable, whereas you would wander around and get into trouble." Now this upset Fanny. "Those silly hens think I am kept locked up," she thought. "I will show them." So one day when Mr. and Mrs. Willy were out, Fanny found the gate of the pen loose. She pushed it open and came out into the yard. "Those silly hens think I can't find food for myself. I am sure I can find lot of things here," decided Fanny. She sniffed the air and then looked around. "Ah, grass," she thought, and began to nibble the grass in the lawn that was Mr. Willy's pride. Then Fanny saw the colorful flowers in the flower beds and chewed them up. "Very tasty. I wonder why Mrs. Willy doesn't give me these." As she went around the yard, she found more colored things hanging on a line. "Wow, these must be tasty too," thought Fanny, and she began to eat the clothes hung out to dry. When Mr. and Mrs. Willy returned, they were horrified with what they saw. "My garden!" yelled Mr. Willy. "The clothes!" wailed Mrs. Willy. "They are gone." Then she saw Fanny happily eating the last shred of Mr. Willy's shirt. "Oh dear, Mr. Willy, it's Fanny. She has eaten everything." And Fanny was pushed right back into her pen, and now she was never let out. Thanks for watching the story.